So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar about Oulu 2026 European Capital of Culture Open Call. My name is Samu Forsblom. I work as a program director with the Cultural Foundation of Oulu. And here in the same room, we have most of our program team, and there will be also other speakers during that session. We have had these webinars many times before this, and all the webinars, they have had a little bit different approach. You can find the old webinars from our web pages, oulu2026.eu, and there is, of course, the older webinars are really the fundamental of European Capital of Culture, and they go more deeply in the roots about our way of doing things. But this webinar now is about, just a moment, about the questions we frequently receive from you and the answers for these questions. So you can make your questions also to the chat. There is a Heikki moderating it and giving answers. And after this presentation, you are able also to ask questions from us. And this webinar is also recorded, so it's easy to get back to this info later on. I also hope that you keep your microphones and videos off during the presentation, so we are able to do this in a good way. So, first question. What we want, what type of project is the Autumn 2020 Open Call aimed at? So, of course, the overall goal for us is to make permanent cultural climate change and positive development in the northern Finland. We want to make inspirational future for people, but we want to do it in a sustainable way. Because now there is still some years to go for 26, so in this open call we are looking for a bit more wider project, which have a bigger impact to our area, ability to offer unique experiences, permanent change, or new models of operation. And I can tell that when we go closer to the year, so then there will be another open call, which is then aimed for a little bit smaller scale individual projects. But now, when we have the time, we want to now try to get on board all the long-term projects. Of course, we want the projects in the open call to match with one of our three themes, or perhaps all of them, which are Wild City. It's about creative city making, cool contrast, about different kind of phenomena, people, nature, contrasting things in our area. For example, what happens if we put artists and engineers together of making new cultural platforms. And Brave Hinterland, which is about North subarctic Europe. So focus areas relevant to the themes include, for example, art and technology, cultural history, creative spaces and places, regional food culture, art and nature, festival development, the promotion of minority cultures, and a sustainable future. So the themes are really open and wide, and I think really many kind of things can match with those themes. What are the application criteria? So the really important thing is to understand that Cultural Foundation is not producing the project. So if you have idea, you should have also the answer how you are going to implement your project. So we are not producing through the open call. The projects must be delivered independently with the resources what we can give throughout the open call. Who can apply? Well, basically people from Finland, people from abroad can apply. It can be private individual, group, association, network, company, organization, public institutions. We are not narrowing down the possibilities who can apply. But of course, as mentioned before, the really important thing is how it can match with the themes, with the criteria we have in our open call. And of course, it's a group of artists, for example. So some of the people needs to be the responsible part for us when we sign, for example, the contract about this. So there needs to be main applicant in charge of the project. What we mean by large-scale projects. So with the large-scale projects, we refer to projects that require longer time, possible years to plan and deliver. And so, as I said, so now we still have time to do it, and getting more closer to the year, there will be time to short-scaled projects. But now we are looking projects which needs many years to plan and deliver. Then this question about European dimension is really crucial because it is one of the key things of European Capital of Culture institution. So when cities start to compete about having the title, so there is 6 criteria from the European Commission, and one, perhaps the most important one, is the European dimension. And European Capital of Culture is all about exchanging art, knowledge, making new networks in Europe, bringing different kind of cities and cultures and do cooperation with them throughout Europe. So it's written in the basic rules of European Capital of Culture. But it can mean many things. It can be a European theme, for example. I think at the moment we are living not so happy times in Europe, and I'm sure that there will be many overarching horizontal themes for many European people, many countries, many cities, which we can think of, and how arts and culture can address these hard things what we are facing today in Europe. But of course, it can be a European network, residencies, artist exchange, touring with your project in Europe, and many different kind of things. So on the application, we ask you to describe what is your European dimension of the project. What if our project was not successful in the previous open call? So our really first open call was when we made our bid book in the competition of European Capital of Culture. And of course, it was really different case because we had really limited possibility to take in the project. The purpose was to make the bid book, and there was only space for 50 projects what we can name in the bid book. But there was many great projects, and you can also apply again with that project if it wasn't successful in the first bid. But of course, we hope that you update the application. It was 2019, so the world has changed, and what are the thoughts about the project now when we are in the year 22? So updating for the project, but you can apply. Can only part of the project proposed activities be selected for the cultural program? Yes, of course. We are going to ask you to identify the key activities of the project. And of course, after leaving the application, there is a period when we can also negotiate about the proposal and the parts of it and how it can fit to our agenda as well. So it can be that we end up funding only part of the whole proposal. Can project proposals be granted a smaller amount of co-financing that was applied for? Yes, Project proposals may also be granted only part of the amount of the co-financing applied for. On the application form, applicants are asked to identify the key activities. So then about the funding, so as we have stated, so our funding is usually maximum 50%, and there is a need also for self-funding for the other 50%. So the self-funded part may include funds obtained through other grants, sponsorships, ticket sales, fees, for example. The self-funding assessment can also include voluntary work and the contribution of the organization's salaried employees, so kind of in-kind work, and wage subsidies. So you can find more information about that from our application guidebook. And why is it like that, we only provide maximum 50%, and we ask people to also gain other grants? So of course, we don't want to make only 1 year, which is really unnormal for the cultural sector. We want to attract other funders from Finland, from abroad, draw attention to the north, and we want also people who are taking part of the open call identify possible partners, not only the Cultural Foundation and 2026, and we think this is the more long-lasting way of doing things. So all the national, local, other funders need to come to make together the Finland's European Capital of Culture, which is held in Oulu. So this is a really unique opportunity and good platform also to gain more resources from national and international funding. Then a good question, which types of the costs are not covered? So we want to do a special year. We want that also other organization thinks alike. So Cultural Capital is a creative laboratory to make something new, to develop the thing you are doing, find new networks, find new angles. So what we are not finding is the basic activities of cultural or other operators, or established events and festivals who are going to organize the business as usual kind of thing. This doesn't mean that we don't appreciate that kind of thing, but it's just the nature of European Capital of Culture. We need to have shared vision and cultural program, and that's why we ask also those organizations who do annual organizational work, festival events, or so on, to think some special 2026 programming and a little bit dreaming of the things what they want to do. Then there are costs which may be covered by us, but only as a part if the whole other program is larger. So there needs to be some kind of way to attract audiences, and we cannot only pay rents and infrastructure costs, but of course if they are part of the bigger projects meant to the audiences or that kind of thing, so it is possible, but of course not so easy in that case either. So infrastructure and property costs like rent, building services, charges, repairs, and building works, they can be a minor part of the whole budget. Investments, training, continuing education, research, or travel cost of individual person. So this cost cannot be the main point of the application, but as a part of it. Does the self-funding have to be secured before submitting the application? It would be fantastic thing if it is like that, but we understand that many of the projects are still in the planning phase, and of course all the thing is about how good the application is and how reliable it is that what you write there, so don't put any daydreaming there. Just be quite realistic about the other financing opportunities. So that's the way we can believe that application also ourselves. Is there a confirmed budget limit for the projects in the autumn 2020 open call? No, there is no set budget for the projects. So everything is about the quality of the application. And then we switch presenter after this slide. So my last slide is that when will we hear whether our project has been selected to a part of the culture program? So at the moment we are in the period when the open call is open, and it will end the 9th of December. And then the springtime, the winter and springtime is for processing and evaluation of applications and possible negotiations. And we promise to give the co-funding decisions at latest by the end of May 23. Yes, but Inka Hyvönen.
Thank you, Samu. So hello everyone, I am Inka Hyvönen. I am one of the producers as part of the Oulu 2026 program team, and I will continue to answer some of the questions more focused on the content of the project proposals. So first of all, we got the question that the idea that you have can fit more than one of the program lines, and are we expected to select a program line for our project at the application stage? So short answer is no, not necessarily. The program lines as well as the themes are there to help you with the planning of the project, to get inspired, to think about how, for example, someone mentioned your regular work, how is it related to what we are doing here as the European Capital of Culture in 2026, and to aid you forward in that. But the program lines and the thematics, for example, are not set to stone at the application stage. So we're interested in hearing your ideas now, but if you feel like it might also change in the future, that's perfectly possible. And they might also adapt in the future based on what kind of proposals we will be getting. Then are the projects already included in the cultural program available somewhere for viewing? So with this question, we're referring to the project that someone mentioned earlier that have been included in the cultural program already through the open call in 2019. So you can check and read more about all of these projects through our website. Heikki can share the link in the chat for anyone interested. The bitbook is available in Finnish and English on our website, and there you will find a short description of each already included project. These descriptions also include the information on the organization or individual or partners that are involved in carrying out those projects. So that's also interesting information that we often also received question that if there is an existing project that you're interested in, is it possible to take part in it? Is it possible to think about collaboration between your project and those projects? Then we encourage you to check through the bitbook, and if you find something interesting, you can contact those organizations directly, and they will be able to give you better answers about the projects themselves. And of course, if you have trouble, for example, finding the contact information, then in that case, we're happy to help you as well. Then, can we participate in the open call with an existing festival or an event that has been organized before? So yes, you can apply to take part in the open call and become part of the cultural program with an existing festival or an event. But we strongly encourage you that you think about a new relevant perspective to your project. So we don't support existing programming of organizations, but also festivals if they are carrying out their operations as they have before. But we encourage you that now is the time to dream big and think about something that you might have, for example, wanted to develop, an aspect you wanted to develop in your event and haven't been able to do so before. And maybe that's, for example, perspective and an aspect of your work that we can take part of and can become part of the Oulu 2026 culture program. Then another question relating specifically to events. We are planning to apply funding for a touring event in Oulu for 2026. Can we participate in the open call? So by touring events, in this question, we refer to events that take place in different, for example, different cities in different years, or even different countries in different years, or could be also biannually or less frequently. And here again, the short answer is yes, you can take part in the open call, but again, we encourage you to think about the more permanent impact that the event will have on our region specifically, and think about how the program of this already pre-existing sort of template of an event could be, for example, developed further as part of the cultural capital year. And when you are then more concretely working on the project plan, it's good to note that then also the co-funding of Oulu 2026 should be directed at these, specifically these development activities, rather than the ongoing work of the event. Then our project includes an event. How big should the events be? So as we are referring often to this concept of large-scale projects, and as Samu mentioned, this is something that would mean that either the planning or the carrying out of the project takes a longer time. So there is no set number of, for example, participants in an event that we refer to when we are talking about a larger scale projects or events. So when we are assessing the scope of each individual project, we will also be paying attention to the program content that will be accessible to the general public. So not the entire program has to be open to the more general public, but we hope that there will be some ways for it to open in 2026 to a wider audience. And then we'll also be looking at, of course, the other content taking place in the project, and as well as the delivery schedule. Then a question about the timeline. So do we need to specify the schedule of project delivery at the application stage? So yes, the application should provide a timeline for each project, showing when each element of the project will be completed. And again, we understand that we are in the very early stages of planning for a lot of projects. There's still years to come before the year of cultural capital, and there might be also things you might want to or need to change, or there might be some considerations to take into account from the, for example, viewpoint of a visitor to our cultural capital year. So we can still negotiate, of course, on these individual elements, and plans may naturally change at some point, but we do expect you to submit an initial plan and a version that we can, of course, then continue working on if necessary. Then do we need to know for certain at application stage who all the project partners will be? So we do recommend, and we do see it as an advantage if you have already identified and negotiated possible partnerships already here now in the application stage. But we naturally understand that this is not maybe possible for everyone, and we don't expect you, for example, to be already in the stage of, for example, drawing contracts with all possible partners in your project. So it's also good at this point to just reach out to anyone you might be interested in working with, ask for permission to include them in the application, talk about your shared interests, for example, but it doesn't need to be set into stone yet at this point who you will be working with. In addition to this, we know that especially for organizations and individuals applying to become part of our culture program from abroad, you might specifically be interested in finding local partners, which we understand can be difficult on a short notice and from a distance. So we will also be offering you an opportunity already in the application in the form to notify us if you are looking for partners, both internationally and locally. And once the application period has ended, we will do our best and try to find ways to connect the different organizations, different applicants together, and see if there is a way to collaborate there. And then as a question, is it necessary for the project to engage local partners? So as a general aim, the European Capital of Culture activities is to promote the dialogue between European cultures, and the European dimension, European partnerships will be definitely considered an asset for the project, but the cooperation with Finnish partners, for example, or local partners, it is not absolutely necessary for the project to be selected as part of the culture program. So we do ask you to think about, when you are thinking about the partnerships as well, go with the project content first when you're planning, and think about what kind of partners you might be needing and interested in engaging with if you don't have them yet. And this also applies to local partners, that it might also be that the help of local partners might be necessary for the carrying out of your project. And then it's of course good to mention this in your project, even if it's not set yet who those project partners will be. Then what if my project proposal is not selected to become part of the cultural program now in autumn 2022 open call? Can I apply again later? So yes, you still have the opportunity to participate in any subsequent open calls that we might have. Most likely we will be having one more open call that is titled We Are the Culture, which will open closer to 2026, most likely in 2024. And in this open call, we will specifically be looking for perhaps somewhat smaller scale projects that may have, for example, a more community-based aspect, or that might be more about an individual, for example, event or an artwork or production. So that will be opening up later at the later stage. So if we think at this point that your project will not be selected as part of the cultural program, you can still think about, for example, if this open call would be relevant to you at a later stage, and then just take into account the themes and priorities of the upcoming open call if you're interested in submitting the application, and update your plan accordingly. Then into a few more concrete questions about our application system. So there's a question, help, I can't sign in the application system. So we have faced this question a few times now with registering, and like once you have registered, signing in to the application system. We give you a tip, first of all, to double check your username, because when you are registering your account, you can either choose your username to be your email, or it can also be any other selected name. So there can be some confusion here that when you are registering and then you're signing in again, whether you should be using your email address or another username. So this is dependent on what you did. And if signing in with either your email or the username, or if you have forgotten if it was something else than your email, then you can also order a new password or username from the system. And this has worked every time so far. And then in general, oh, sorry, there's a wrong question number there, but the question also about the application form itself, the technicalities. So if you are having trouble with the application form, who can help? So first of all, here we encourage you to reach out to our technical support through the application system itself. So in the application system, there's an opportunity to send messages both to us and the technical staff who are responsible for the form itself. So if you reach out and send us a message explaining your problem through the system itself, then we can also direct it towards the technical staff who will be better able to help you. Then lastly, where can you find more information? This is naturally the most important and most often asked question that we receive. So all these things that we have gone through now in the form of frequently asked questions, as well as the webinar recordings that someone mentioned earlier, and the guide for applicants that has the more detailed instructions on a lot of these questions we've gone through, can be found from our open call website. There is also still an opportunity to sign up for our last help desk meetings that take place next week. And I think there's a few spots left for these help desks. So if you want to still meet with us, the production team, and you want to go over your project plan, ask any specific questions about your project proposal, then run to the website and book your time with us. And otherwise, if either the time doesn't work for you or you don't think it's necessary, then we're also very happy to help you through our general email account. So you can also email us at opencall@oulu2026.eu. And this is an email that our entire program team will be checking. So that will be the fastest and most efficient way to also get answers to your questions. So thank you. I think now we have time for questions. I don't know if the chat already had some questions. And now at this point, if anyone has questions, then feel free to put on your microphone and your camera as well. We managed to answer most of your questions.
Everything is clear. That's good.
I see someone, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. I would have one question maybe, and it's regarding the budget.
Yeah.
When it comes to salary, how does it go with the tax? Because we have to pay some tax. So how do we deal with that? Do we put it in the budget or is it something else?
Yeah, in the budget template, there is the one section specifically for the wages and other fees that you will pay. Do calculate those, including any other. It can be depending on, of course, where you operate. It can be taxes, or there can be other like employer-related costs that are relevant if you're paying. Depending also on if you are paying your, for example, staff members, whether they are fees or salaries, but you can include those calculations in the budget. And if you wish, if it's something that you think is a considerable difference in your budget, you can also in the lower section where you can give details to it, you can also, for example, specify to us what are those costs for your organization.
I mean, more precisely, I mean, in the idea that we have of the concept we would like to offer, I think that there would be need of some kind of coordination team at some point. And this, it cannot be fees, it cannot be artist fees, or it cannot be a service we buy with the VAT. It has to be like a proper salary, and then a salary like what I mean, the difference between what is paid and what is received is huge in a way. So how do we calculate that? Do we just put the salary and then in the note I can write this is the salary that should be received? And I mean, how does it work?
It depends a little bit also. Now, not knowing specifically about your organization, how you operate on a normal basis, how it depends.
Actually,
but you can. If you have already, like, of course, regular staff, and you know, like, for example, the percentage that
the thing is that I am used to more art application. Like if you think, for instance, in Kone application, when you get some budget, you just write the budget that is being paid by the foundation to the person, for instance. Is it the same system, or is it? You know what I mean?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, basically the same system, and you can include what we could give us if you don't have already an existing template for calculations of how many percentage the tax and everything involved will add to the salary. Then you can maybe calculate, for example, I think in Finland, the general will be like somewhere around 25% additional amount to it. And then that should cover all the pension fees and that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's a good system. If you don't have, of course, if you have already a template that you use, I mean, then that's perfect. But
no.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I understand, and I always can clarify in the notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good general rule of thumb that we always understand. We just specify.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, there seems to be a question in the chat. Just a second, we're recapping on the chat questions. Okay, so there was a question about relating to budget as well, and the salary rates for different members of the team. So see if you understood the question specifically. Oh yeah, so referring, if I understood correctly, the question is referring to a team where there's both Finnish and other nationalities, staff members, or whether it's artists or anyone else involved, and whether it's possible to state the salaries to be the same for all team members, not dependent on where they, for example, come from. So the rate of salaries, for example, in general, I can say as a rule of thumb, this is something that is also set by your organization, for example, itself. So we don't have any specific calculation pattern for different roles, for example, in your project. So naturally, we expect that you have some basis for your calculation of how you have set the rates for the salaries for different team members, but there is no like set pattern for us. And this also applies to if you think about the different fees for different team members coming from different nationalities. So of course, we're expecting that the project should be set and your budget should be based in where you operate. So if you, for example, if your project that is referred to here is based in Finland and majority of the operations will be carried out here in Finland and all team members will be taking part in that work, then naturally, yes, everyone can have the higher rate of salary that is more relevant to the more general Finnish level. But then if you have, for example, different team members working in different parts of the world where this direct comparison wouldn't be justified, then we of course encourage you to think about where to make these comparisons. But as you can hear from my answer as well, this is not something that there is a one unified answer. Again, if you wish to do either so that everyone receives the same rate of salary, independent of their location or where they will be working for, or if you wish to have some wage disparity between the team members based on these factors, then please just specify in your budget plan what your calculations are based on. And then we can also still open the negotiations about such details at a later stage when we have gone through your application, if we think that the partial funding from Oulu 2026 will be relevant. Are there any other questions in the chat, or does anyone have questions there?
Not in the chat, and not here. Okay, so is it time to finish this up? Thank you everybody for listening, and good luck for the applications. This is the once in a lifetime opportunity in northern part of Finland, I guess so. So let's use it well.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
And good luck with planning.